Welcome back to another MOTOBOB video, and today we're in Italy in Varese, and we've been at the MV Agusta factory. We've done a factory tour, a couple of interviews, and now we're riding some of the bikes, and one of the most exciting has to be this, the F3RR. Brand new for 2022, looks incredible, but how does it go on the road? Well, keep watching this video and you'll find out. But before we get started, a massive thanks to Beeline Moto for sponsoring the channel. It's a super neat little navigation device that'll fit on any bike, really easy to use, and the app is very nicely designed. There's a link down in the description where you can find out more information. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out that this bike is heavily based upon the F3 800. It's just got some extra little tweaks that make it RR. At the heart of it, you've got the same 798cc inline triple, and it's just so much fun, this engine. 147 horsepower peak at 13,000 RPM. You can get a race kit that takes it up to 155 horsepower, I think. 88 Newton meters of peak torque, just over 10,000 RPM. It's got a counter-rotating crank, which makes it a lot more agile. Slipper clutch, an up and down quick shifter, and so as you can gather, it's quite a sporty package. It's difficult to take a bike like this up to its limits on the road. Even on some of these beautiful twisty mountain roads out here, you're spending the majority of your ride in second gear and just going up and down the huge rev range. When you do get to push it, obviously it's exceptionally powerful for a middleweight bike like this. It's 173 kilograms as well, so the power to weight ratio is pretty damn good. And look, to get it near its limits, it has to go on the track. What I will say though, having ridden it today, yes, it's got the thrills, but also lowering the revs between 5 and 10,000 RPM. This bike is very, very easy to ride. You look at it and you think it's a sports bike, it's going to be like choppy and too aggressive and uncomfortable. But honestly, out of this and the 1000cc inline 4 in the Brutale 1000 RS that we've also been riding today, this is much easier to get on with at road speeds. You do have a few riding modes, and you can play with the throttle map, of course. So there's sport, race, and then there's a rain mode as well. I spent most of the day in sport. In fact, pretty much all of the time I've been riding it in sport, and even in what you'd assume is an aggressive riding mode, it really is easy to manage around town. It's not choppy on and off the throttle at all, and it's got enough torque down there that it doesn't feel gutless or like it's getting bogged down. I guess that's the thing that people always say about triples in their marketing materials. A good compromise between the torquiness of a twin and the reviness of a 4. Moving on to the chassis, we've got the same tubular steel frame as the F3 800, the same Marzocchi upside down forks, the same Sachs monoshock, both fully adjustable, Brembo radially mounted monoblock calipers on 320mm discs, a radial master cylinder that's from Nissin. Decent choice of tyres for this bike, Diablo Rosso Corsas, so obviously sporty but appropriate for the road. And again, it's a bike that's far more capable than what you can really do on the road, and so for road riding it just feels brilliant on the brakes, turns really well, lightweight, nimble, agile, powerful, fun. That's about it. Now, I always like to talk about comfort, and I don't think you're looking at this bike expecting some kind of, couch on wheels. It is low at the front. You can see it with these clip-ons. It's got an 830mm seat height, so it doesn't feel particularly high. Even the naked bikes like the Brutale 1000 are a little taller, but you're still going to be with your legs tucked up and then down into the cockpit and reaching further forward. Obviously, cruising around town and stuff, you are reaching quite a long way down. It's when you pick up the speed that it starts to feel more comfortable. You're getting a bit of wind protection there. You can use your legs and the speed as well to support yourself a bit. And so yeah, obviously not my first choice for a big touring trip, but for a day of riding on quicker roads and just having a good time, it's perfectly fine. Tech-wise, you get a lot more tech this year on all of the MV Agusta triples. So I think it's a 4.5-inch TFT display on this bike. They all get inertial measurement units, so 6-axis IMU that feeds into the rider aids. You've got your launch control, wheelie control, cornering traction control, cornering ABS, lots of riding modes. You can change the throttle map. There's phone connectivity, so you can hook it up over Bluetooth and get some of the bike settings through the MV app and turn-by-turn nav. You get a GPS tracker built in as well. I think one of my favorite features, I mean, clearly that's all very up to date, appropriate for a modern sports bike, and, great. But I think one of the things that I like about all the MVs is the layout of the dash. So you get some of the IMU readouts on the TFT there. It shows you, I think, lean angle and sort of G-force type readouts. And also the use of fonts and layouts. It feels a little bit like a video game type thing. And I think that increases the feeling of fun and makes you feel more like this is a toy for having a great time on. Now, I've saved some of the stuff that you might argue is performance related for the styling section of this review. So the big changes for the RR are the carbon bodywork. You get this splitter at the front end, which does affect the airflow around the rider. You've got these carbon winglets as well. They're sort of triple stacked in there. And they say that they produce, I think it's 8 kilograms of downforce at 150 miles per hour. You get a carbon front mudguard as well, and that directs some of the airflow to the brake calipers. They're like cooling ducts, so obviously that's going to help to prevent fade and sort of degradation of the braking performance as you're on the brakes really hard if you're at the track, I guess. You just don't get to use any of that stuff on the road. There's no chance of doing 150 mile an hour on these roads. The visibility isn't good enough, I don't think, to carry that much speed into some of these corners that you're going to need to be that hard on the brakes. It'd be different if this was a track review with someone who could ride at that level, but for most of us that just buy this as an amazing looking, really special exotic road bike, it just makes it look absolutely beautiful. The F3 was already good looking, but I think this just gives it that super premium feel that you get on some of their top models. It's still a very slender bike, but yeah, it just adds that little bit of presence to the front end. The only thing I will say about the finish is I do wish that these buttons were a bit more high quality, the switchgear. I think they're bought in, they might be the same ones as you get on a Zero, and so I'd like a bike at this sort of price point to feel a little bit more premium in the cockpit. You know, sometimes you get backlit switches that have a design that sort of ties in a little better with the rest of the bike. I think it would benefit from a little bit of an upgrade there, but I mean, across the whole bike, in terms of the finish, that's the only point at which I'd say it could do with a little boost. Price-wise, this comes in at, I think it's 21,900 euros. Is it good value for money? It's very hard to gauge a bike like this. Obviously, there's lots of other things that you could buy for that amount of cash, but I can see why if you love triples and you want something that's like the most performant triple that you can buy, and then of that lineup, you want the best looking, the one that makes you feel like you're riding something extremely special, especially with some of the track kit that we've got here, like the filler cap, the foot pegs, the Akropovich exhaust with the carbon heat shield and end cap. Then yeah, this is about as good as it gets, isn't it? So let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. And if you're new here and you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe and I'll catch you in the next one.